Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Big Show. This is Investing and Trading Live, sponsored by Online Trading Academy. If you're a first-time listener, thank you for stopping by. My name is Josh Lilquist, and we are happy to have you with us today. As always, I have my good friend and my good pal, and he's looking good. He looks like he's feeling good. Mr. Al Connickson on the show here today. Al, how are you doing today?
Well, you know what? I am feeling good. How about you, Josh?
I'm doing fantastic, and we have a great show on tap for our listeners here today. We've been doing the show here for several years, and we're on all a lot of the major local stations here in Minneapolis, and a lot of local listeners. And I was just thinking, I got a phone call from one of our great listeners, Larry, this week, and he was talking about, man, you guys really, I don't know how you do it, but you keep things fresh every single week. And he was talking about the show and everything. And, I think we have a new nickname. A new nickname came about here. We're not going to change the name of the show, but Al, we are now the Febreze Brothers because we're so fresh.
Oh, okay.
So that's what we are. We're now the Febreze Brothers. But
that's what I've always dreamed of.
Yeah, let's keep that show fresh. We have a lot to talk
and thanks,
about.
Larry, for listening, and we really appreciate it. Larry's a great student of ours, too.
Exactly, yeah. So, we're going to do something slightly different here today. We're going to keep it fresh for our listeners, but we're going to do some different things on some of the services that Online Trading Academy has. One of them being OTA picks. We're going to do some stock analysis for you guys here today, talking about what it is, how this, not necessarily how the strategy works, but concepts about it, and then how to be able to incorporate tools within your trading strategy. Before we get into that, I got to talk about congrats to the Kansas City Chiefs last week.
What a game.
Super Bowl champions, and I really like that coach Andy Reid. He does a really good job with that club, and Patrick Mahomes, the MVP for the league and the Super Bowl. And one of the things that he really did during that Super Bowl is he stuck to that plan.
Right.
He got hurt, and he knew he had a plan, even though there was something, an outside source slowing him down, which was his ankle getting hurt again. He kept following through and following the steps within that plan to reach the on top to get the W, Super Bowl champs. And that's what we want to do in trading and investing as well. There's a lot of outside things happening. I know you're going to talk a little bit about some of the news that's happening. The great volatility is causing big moves in the markets, but we still need to follow our plan. Al, let's talk about that.
Yeah, and we will talk a lot about that plan and the process going forward here. But let's just talk a little bit about what's happened in the market. We've seen the continued volatility, which we have been saying that we're going to be seeing for some time, probably the rest of this year and maybe into next year. But this last week, what happened? We had a couple of big numbers come out. The CPI number came out, and retail sales came out. CPI came
real quick. What is the CPI?
That's the Consumer Price Index,
which means
that's a kind of an indication of inflation.
Okay,
and people were expecting it to go down and hoping. I think hoping more than expecting is the key word there. But it came in at an increase of 0.5% for the month. That's 6.4% on an annual basis. The estimate was 0.4%. With a 6.2% increase year over year. So it was up a little bit. People are looking at what's happening with these numbers, and they're looking for words or sentences that they can use to determine which way the market's going to go. What we saw on I think it was Wednesday when the CPI came out was just unbelievable. When the market opened with that CPI number being a little hotter than expected, that was on the 14th. The S&P 500 was down 32%. Then it turned around and went up 54%. Then it rolled over, went down 56%. Then it came back up 24%. Then went down 32%. Then up 42% and ended and this is one day.
That sounds like the Valentine's Day roller coaster.
Yeah, it's like one of those super bouncy balls. Once you drop it, it bounces for hours, maybe sometimes. But that's what happened. And what's happening there is people are looking for words. They're looking for sentences and things that they can grab onto that they think are good for a while, and then something else, catches their attention, and they're thinking, well, maybe it's not so good. And it just goes back and forth like that. And it shows you that you really can't just pay attention to what what we're seeing in the news, so to speak, and I mentioned this last week that typically the response after something comes out, whether it's a CPI number or a news broadcast, is short-lived. And then on Thursday of last week, we had retail sales. Retail sales just smashed the estimates. It was up 3%. That's the biggest gain since March of 2021. The estimates were for 1.9%. So what it shows is that the consumer is still spending, and a concern that we have is that they maybe have gone through a lot of the stimulus money and people are now spending on credit. They're used to spending. They like that feeling and going into credit to do it.
Yep.
So the key is not to try to make a decision based on words and things that you see. Let's look at the facts that really drive prices, and that's really why you want to be in the market, is to be able to take a position when you have the odds of being successful with a high profit, but you have to do that at a point where the price is going to be impacted. That's typically by Wall Street,
Exactly.
the big banks. And then we have a strategy that we have developed that basically shows you just how to follow what they're doing.
Yeah, I like that because there's a lot going on in the markets, which the news and TV, and they make it seem so daunting and overwhelming for people. That's one of the great things that we do here at Online Trading Academy is we break that down so it's not overwhelming for you. We break it down what things are, why some of this could potentially be happening, but then being able to follow the facts, follow what's actually happening, and make your decisions and base them off of the facts, not the news, because news can just create an opinion. And everybody has an opinion.
It shouldn't even be called news. It should be called old, because by the time you hear it, it's already passed.
You're exactly right. So, I'm going to talk about an investing class here, but I want to make sure our listeners know we're going to do some fun stuff here today. As the show progresses here today, I want you guys to be able to text in to with some different analysis. If you want to look at a stock, maybe next week or something, text in with that. I'm gonna give you a text line to do that. But some stock analysis. If you're watching live on the YouTube stream or on the podcast, definitely text in for some things that you want to see upcoming. And we're trying to get some viewer, some listener interaction here. So when you text in, you text investing first to the number 210. And then also text in any stocks that you want to peek at, or for one of these investing classes. Sure. So text the word investing to the number 210. For the investing class, you just do that, text investing, and you're going to receive 2 seats for one of our investing classes locally here at the Academy. We do these during the week. We also do these on the weekends. So make sure to pick up some passes for that. Text investing to the number 210. Al, coming up next, as I mentioned, we're going to do some stock analysis. We're going to talk about Citigroup, Apple, potentially Dick's Sporting Goods if you get enough time. And a lot of people are looking for a backup plan on top of their job. So let's talk about that coming up next. This is Josh and Al, investing and trading live. We will be right back.